Hello, friends in YouTube land. It's your old buddy Lee, the writer. Say, I was just thinking about some of you that I got messages from, and I know some of you are guitar players and really know a lot about the guitar and own some beautiful stuff. One fella mentioned that he had a Gretsch guitar, which is really like a status symbol for guitar players. Most guys would only dream of owning a Gretsch. Super fine guitar. In my experience, I've only met one guy that ever had one. And of course, it was almost like a holy relic. Everybody wanted to play it. Everybody wanted to even just look at it. It was kind of like that, sort of like seeing a muscle car like a Roadrunner or something like that. Super B. Well, anyway, we all have hobbies. I know some of you guys came on to my channel because I was doing some sort of investigative reporting about the offended outcast. I did a few videos about him while the news was kind of hot on the wire, so to speak. People were talking about it a lot, and so I thought I'd feature it in some of my videos because it was a topic of interest at the time. But then after I saw how it ended for him with somebody going up, and he said that somebody made a mess in his cabin that he put up in the woods. I don't remember the exact details, but it was devastating for him, and I just couldn't continue on reporting or making more videos after I saw how distraught and destroyed the guy was. It was sad. No matter what he may have done in life, he paid for it, sat in jail for years, ostracized from society and branded for life. And then to have his present and future destroyed right out from under him. You can think what you want to. You know, we all have that right to think what we want to about situations, and so you can go ahead and have your opinion and I'll have mine. I don't care to continue to beat on a guy after he's already been pummeled enough, in my opinion. So anyway, I met a lot of you, or a lot of you came on to my channel because of the offended outcast stories. That's how you got here. I know you didn't come here because you were interested in my writing or interested in my guitar playing or anything like that. You know, I hope you stick around if you're interested. If you're not interested, you know, I don't blame you for moving on. Unsubscribe and go on to other things in life. It's a big wide world and there's a lot of things to be interested in. Maybe writing stories and fantasy stories and occult stories and stories about the supernatural aren't your bag. No one ever said that you were required to be interested in the same things that I am. I completely understand. You got other interests. Maybe the thing that you're interested in, I don't really care for in particular myself. So we're all made different. Every shape, gender, color. We walk on all 6 continents of the earth. We all speak, there's hundreds of different languages. Dozens of major religions, all that kind of stuff. Some of us believe in one thing and another guy believes in something else. It's a big world and there's plenty of room for everybody, so whatever your interests are, you can stick around here and listen to me chat, or you can move on and go in peace. I hope you find what you're looking for. Anyway, I was talking about hobbies, and one of my favorite hobbies, it's really almost been an obsession most of my life, is genealogy. And yeah, it sounds like a big word, and some of you know what it means and some of you don't. To put it in plain terms, genealogy is the study of your family history, your family tree, and that kind of thing. I got interested in genealogy, or my family tree, when I was 12 years old, which has been almost 60 years ago for me. I found the old family Bible in a closet, and I opened it up. I was curious to look at it. I saw it was from the late 1870s, and for a 12-year-old kid, you know, something that's well over 100 years old back then, was really interesting to me. I'd never seen any book that was that old, and it was just a gigantic old Bible. And so I was curious, and I opened it up, and it had a big old fat thick cover, leather exterior and all that, gold leaf lettering on it. It looked almost like a magic book. You know, it was just like a museum piece. You don't see anything like that anymore in our times. So I opened it up, and I was looking through it and looking at all the old pictures, and it was really super interesting to me. And I got to about the middle of it, and I found some old yellow pages. And on the yellow pages were written people's names and dates. And I pulled it out and looked at it, and it didn't take me long to figure out that it was my family tree. The last people that were put on the family tree was my grandparents. And it went from my grandparents back in time. And it had been compiled by my grandfather's older sister, a lady by the name of Mary Hanson. She was a genealogist. And it was funny because there hadn't been a genealogist in the family since Mary. So the family history just sat there in the Bible. All those years after she passed away, she died in 1941. And nobody cared enough to ever look up the family history, just to even look at it to view it. You know, nobody cared. Everybody was busy. TV or cars or jobs or relationships or trying to make a living, trying to save up some money to buy a house, all the things that we do, look for a mate, go out and have a good time, all those human things. Nobody really gave a second thought to, like, who's my great-grandparents? Does anybody know where they came from? At school, I hear people talk about, hey, I'm Irish and I'm Polish. What am I? You know, am I Irish? Am I Polish? And you just ask yourself questions. Where did my grandparents come from? Some of you know the answers, and some of you know it well. Your family history was something that was important to your mom and dad and your grandparents, and they sat down and told you about it. Yeah, great-grandpa Gustav came from Sweden in 1860. He came over here on a 3-mast ship before steam engines. He settled in Kansas and raised cows. He had a little dairy down there. You know, your mom or your dad or your grandparents might tell you a little bit about your family history. Oh, well, we live in, you know, San Jose, California now. But where did Grandma live? Where'd Grandma come from? And somebody says, well, Grandma came from North Dakota. She lived on a farm. And it's like, whoa, really? And where did her parents come from? Well, they came from New York, the generation previous to that, before New York had electricity. And, you know, it's kind of thought-provoking. Wow, a city like New York that didn't have electricity? Well, how did they live without electricity? Well, you know, it's interesting to find out that people lived without electricity. Before World War I, most towns and cities were just barely starting to use electricity. If you know anything about history, you'll know that electricity wasn't widely used before 1893. The first major demonstration of electricity was at the Chicago World's Fair in 1893. Before that, Thomas Edison made a small display of electricity in Menlo Park, New Jersey, at less than 10 years before, about 1880s maybe. So electricity wasn't always a part of humanity. Some people are surprised to even think about it. Why would you ever think of something as crazy as a time before electricity? But that's the majority of history. People live without that kind of stuff. We take modern conveniences for granted. We even take the internet for granted, computers for granted, cell phones for granted, the store for granted. You know, now the cashiers, all they got to do is take your item you want to buy and scan it, and it automatically takes the price and puts it on the cash register. And then when it comes time to pay, you hand over a card, or you skim the card yourself, and you don't even use money anymore, you know. So we get used to things real fast and comfortable, and we don't ever think about the times when people had to do things the hard way or the long way. Same goes with cars. My grandfather was born in 1890. There was no cars then. He lived in a little town up in northern Wisconsin, and he told my dad about the day the first car came to town. Nobody had ever seen one before. It was all horse and buggy, and then one day in about 1910 or 1912 or so, somebody drove a car in Spencer, Wisconsin, a little town up in northern Wisconsin. And it was the biggest news that anybody had ever heard of. People had seen the train, because trains had been around for a while. But a couple generations before my grandfather, even the trains weren't around, because steam engines hadn't been invented yet. And people walked or rode horses wherever they went, used wagons to move, like out from the East Coast on the Oregon Trail. Had a couple horses or oxen pull your wagon all the way across the United States. And there was no cell phone in case you got in trouble. If you got in trouble, you were going to have to get yourself out of it. Well, anyway, I'll be sharing more about you with my family history and genealogy. In the old days, genealogy was a pen and a piece of paper, and a lot of times old books and a family Bible, and that was where the names and dates of the family members came from most of the time. And you didn't have a very big family tree back in the beginning. But now, the same technology that I described that you use at the store and the banks and the cell phone and all that, nowadays, using technology, it's opened up the field of genealogy so you can actually discover your family tree and take it all the way back into Europe, into the Middle Ages, see if you're connected to royalty, anything like that. Just wanted to introduce this subject to you with this video, and I'll be delving into the genealogy and the study of family trees more in the future. It's something I've got a lot of experience and knowledge about, and I'll be here to tell you how you can go to a free online site and sign up and start your own genealogical site, and you can research your own family tree and learn where your family came from before they came to America. You can even find out the name of the relative that was the first one to come to America and what year he or she got here. So anyway, stay tuned and come back again, and I'll have some more information about genealogy and family trees for you. Thanks for coming in. We'll see you next time.